Y bien, pues, vivimos tiempos desquiciados y desquiciantes. El clima se vuelve irregular y extremo en todo el mundo. Olas de calor, incendios forestales, inundaciones, sequías, tormentas, huracanes, cada vez más frecuentes y destructivos. Desaparecen los glaciares, los polares, las abejas, los gorilas, las selvas, los bosques, y diariamente entre 100 y 200 especies. Los mares se llenan de plástico, los campos de peligrosos agroquímicos, las ciudades de autos y los cielos de aviones. Falta el agua limpia a más de millones de personas. La basura, los desechos tóxicos y peligrosos migran hacia barrios y pueblos y países más pobres del mundo. En los países del sur se resienten los mayores daños generados por las alteraciones del clima y la ecología, ocasionado por los usos y costumbres de los que en el mundo tienen un auto.
Due to the habits of the world, Trump's administration abandoned the Paris Accord, and it is supporting the use of carbon and gas and oil and fracking. So we are entering into the ominous time of fossil fuels that is 10 times more devastating than what used to be a few years ago. The social-ecological damage caused by the fuels, by the farms, is enormous. Fracking is imposed by repression and anti-democratic legislation around the world. There's a media war to subject the opinion of the people and to obtain the last cheap oil. The prices of oil are tampered with. Gas is sold as liquid fuel. And because of the big subsidies they receive, commercial aviation is growing exponentially. In the last 20 years, in the next 20 years, it will grow fourfold. Monocultures are creating diseases which are filling with glyphosates all the soils of the world and are exterminating the small producers. Because of the dependency of long-distance transportation, industrial production is causing an enormous amount of waste of water, food, and energy. The quality of food is worse and worse, and our eating habits are also worsening. The time that is lost in transportation in cities in the south is scandalous. Megalopolis are growing as a malignant cancer. And because of the enormous needs of transportation, globalization is speeding up the devastation of the planet. Between 5 to 15 times is what the consumption has grown in the average citizen usage. There's an abundance of lack of social, cultural, socioeconomic solutions, and if they appear, they're proposed by politicians or technocrats. The faith in a technological solution to save the planet is renouncing the true possibility to protect the environment. Nuclear energy, genetics, nanotechnologies, robotics, artificial intelligence, and others are sold, and they are posing apocalyptic scenarios. The catastrophes of productivity, technosciences, and other problems of the North are wreaking havoc. And the economic costs that come from the socio-environmental damages caused by the pollution, the climate devastation, and are annulling any possible profit that the economists gain because of this destruction. The health costs that are caused by the industrial products exceed by far the possible social benefits. There's an increase of working hours, and there's a loss of family life around the world. Inequality is increasing and is creating more and more misery in the North and the South. And in the world, the consumption of drugs, intrafamily violence, bullying, and other sorts of violence are increasing. Mexico is going crazy because of the introduction of arms and the scandalous consumption of drugs that is promoted by the northern neighbor. However, more than half of the population aspires to live as if they were Americans, and most of the population in that country are addicted to this destructive lifestyle. Suicide rates are growing by 10% in OECD countries, and in these developed societies, success is translated into a frenetic accumulation of goods and services that in turn cause more stress, insomnia, psychosomatic disorders, and all sorts of diseases, cancers, cardiac crisis, allergies, obesity, and diabetes. To the extent in which development increases, the more depression, the more chronic fatigue, the more suicidal attempts, and psychological disorders, the consumption of antipsychotic stimulants, antidepressants, and there's absenteeism and other social evils. So the well-being of the North is something that is but a fantasy. The suffering of the countries of the South is terrible in their effort to emulate the North. Schools produce consumerism, frustration of most of the population. The great millionaires look desperately to find ways in which to bring down the human population by 10%. So wealth is a pathology that is even worse than poverty. In the discourses of the academia, the real misery of the rich is hidden, something that is at the core of our social problems. Wealth creates poverty. The economy is organized to pump the resources from the poor to the rich. So some win while others lose. The economic binds are getting tighter and tighter. And now it is the bonds of love, friendship, solidarity are disappearing. Generosity, solidarity, altruism are disappearing. Joy is dying, beauty is dying around the world, while there's a limitless growth of pollution, violence, wars in different dimensions. The socio-political system in which we live are making everyone unhappy. The religion of economics and the worshipping of science and technology has led us to misery and to a future that is unthinkable. The economic growth that is rigorously multidimensionally is controlling the minds of people who have schooling and have been modernized. The age of technology has radicalized climate ecological devastation around the world. The face-to-face contact, the conversations, the understanding of good language, parties, getting along, knowledge, music, traditions, everything has been lost. Our lives are too risky. There are way too many things that seem intolerable in the world. It is necessary for us to say enough is enough to plenty of things. We cannot leave this paving of the streets, pumping of water, the application of fertilizers or pesticides to continue. We cannot continue eating junk food and producing plastics and selling millions of cars, consuming gas, oil, electricity, and producing garbage that we produce, and constructing high-speed trains as we do, gas lines, pipelines, and sanitary landfills, nuclear plants. All of those elements are out of control. The controlling of aquifers, desertification, the pollution of air, the depletion of lakes and bodies of water, the disappearance of species, the melting of glaciers, the death of the seas, and the climate change. We cannot remain silent because of how universities and political systems, tourism, the extraction, the health industries, the communications, trade, and other organizations promote this. And this is supported by banking system, financial systems, political systems, the military groups, the international organizations, the media manipulation that is promoting consumption, and we cannot be passive while we witness the destruction at the scale it has been created due to economic growth and technological development. It is essential for us to start changing our certainties, our ideas, our attitudes, our ways of living, our mentalities, our philosophies, our political ideas to be able to survive the catastrophes that we have created. The good news is to know that the developmental ideas of growth, economic growth, are failing in the world. We cannot expect them to disappear overnight, in spite of the fact that disasters are increasing exponentially. Colonization of social imagination is quite deep. In order for the most vulnerable to survive, it will be important for us to fight all of our lives against the extraction of gas, mineral, and natural resources, and against the production of greenhouse gas emissions and the discharges of dirty waters into our bodies of water, and against the industrialization of agriculture, fishery, and the breeding of animals, and the generation of electricity in nuclear thermoelectrical plants or the wind or solar parks, and against the transnationals, the water treatment plants, the construction of superhighways and airports, and against the construction of mega projects of any kind. We all have plenty to win if there's a degrowth appearance. Dissidence is also something that has to be for life. Fighting the ideas of scarcity, abundance, wealth, poverty, productivity, competitiveness, growth, economy, science, technology, development, progress, modernization is a permanent task, as these words control our policies and politics. It is important to debunk the myth of modern well-being, the GDP, and to stop believing that well-being and happiness are matters that can be measured through an index. Having doesn't mean living or living well. It is important to reject the economic revaluing of all of the non-economic variables and to abandon the numbers so as to be able to understand the qualities. The growth of GDP around the world during the last 50 years shows that the only thing it did was to destroy the climate, the economies of the nations, and to enrich the rich and to make the poor poor, and threaten the existence of humanity. It is preposterous to think that there will be limitless growth in a limited planet, as economists think. So what is this economic thought based on? Friendship, generosity, altruism are very helpful to get out of the economic bonds that are causing asphyxia and to start entering into a degrowth society. The industry has proven over and over how perverse it is, how it tampers with human perception, it degrades the relationship between human beings towards one another and nature, creates great addictions, destroys values, produces way too much garbage, air pollution, pollution of the land and the water. And it is what weakens the minds. It is through school, media, and transportation that this is done. It is the main support of the sinister systems of the world that are killing life in the planet. In order for us to protect the damned on earth, we cannot delay any further a resistance against industrialization of the countries in the South, to protect the biological, cultural diversity in the world, and to favor new ways of being. Going back to a time where handcraft bloomed could be the first step to find a better way of living and of disconnecting the southern countries from the ideas from the north. Minimizing the industry is essential. We need to decolonize our social imagination, because if we don't do that, it will be impossible for us to construct a degrowth society post-oil. The rupture with the past is going to be difficult because bankers and transnationals will try to prevent it. This task could be summarized in the rejection of obligatory or compulsory school, media tampering with. Obligatory schooling is a pernicious drug that has created many generations of human beings that are addicted to consumption, labor, and uniformity, standardization, and they're influenced by economic ideas. They are frustrated, and later they are prey to garbage and accept the things politicians do. Non-obligatory schooling can help us recover our imagination and creativity. Aggressive advertising that is pervasive creates needs and it controls social imagination, which is already devastated because of what school has done to their minds. And because all of the excesses, information becomes disinformation, and along with advertising and political manipulation, it becomes propaganda and manipulation. A company that truly devotes itself to intoxicating societies, transnationals, are the manipulators of desires and opinions, and they have imposed their ways, urbanization, iPods, internet. They complete the standardization of aspirations and have created the origin of fascism and totalitarianism. The way of living of the developed nation is reinforcing colonization of the imagination. Denouncing advertising and the media is obligatory to promote degrowth and our ability to live together. It is important for those to do more research and share our experiences in the fight. Being able to recover face-to-face communication, chatting, riding a bike, they are part of the therapies that are necessary for us to decolonize our imaginations. Art is a way in which we survive what the growth society has caused in horrors. Changing our lifestyle is important in the process of decolonizing the imagination and preventing the use of airplane, car, mobile phones, reducing the time that we devote to TV, radio, the internet. Techno-fasting is a way in which we can help the planet survive. We need to convince ourselves to begin with that it's better to live with less technology, less objects. Less is more. And changing the lifestyle of people who have a lot, the wealthy, the schooled, could have transformational power. Preaching by example is important for degrowth. There are no technological solutions, economic solutions that can help us with the challenges we face. If we don't change our certainties, our ideas, then the view of the world that we have and our epistemology, the philosophy, if we don't change that, there won't be survival possible. It is essential to wish to be free and to have the willingness to achieve that. Thank you.